So today I want to talk about relationships, and I've come up with 10 ways when I really thought through, like, how do I cultivate relationships? What do I do so that I can let you all know what I'm doing and how I'm getting through the doors? I came up with 10 ways. There are probably more, and they probably change often, as I believe that we should always be being creative in how we're doing that. But I came up with 10 ways, and if I go off the 10, then pardon me. It's just that maybe I come up with something as I go on, or remember something that I did as I go on. But these are 10 ways that I thought about when I am building relationships and what I believe we need to do to build relationships. So thanks for joining this live. I won't be long because I got a lot of work to do. These are my 10 steps to cultivating relationships. The first thing I think that we all should do, contingent upon what we're pitching and who we know we need to get in touch with. See, when I'm building relationships, I'm thinking ahead of the game, right? It's not about who I need to know tomorrow, or it's not about who I know on this project. I'm always thinking ahead of the game, right? I'm thinking a year from now, who do I need? So something that I have not told any of you all, I don't believe, is that I'm planning a pitch conference, an entertainment, business, and pitch conference. And so I know that this is less than a year out. And so I'm thinking way ahead of the game. And so it's really meaning me building relationships now so that they can say yes. And so this is the process that I'm going through with building relationships. So the first part is coming up with that wish list or of prospects that you know you need to get in front of, who you know you need to connect with, right? And so you want to come up with that wish list. For me, even today, as I was sitting here writing, I think I came up with a wish list or a prospect list of about 35 people, right, who I know I need to connect to. So the first thing is to come up with a list of prospects. The second thing I like to do is I like to connect with them all on social media. That means I connect on all social media, LinkedIn, and sometimes I'm connecting with their brand, and then I'm connecting with them as well, because I don't want it to come a time when I'm trying to get something from them, and it's not being opportunistic, but one, connecting with their brand allows me to know who they are and what they want, what their needs are. You can find out everything by just sometimes going into social media and following them and engaging with them. So not only do I connect with them on social media, but I also engage with them. And that's number 3. Don't just connect, but engage with their posts, right? I engage with them all the time. The other day, I have this guy who I don't even know why I have such a heart for him and his brand and what he does. And he's like this major guy. His name is Hal Elrod. He created the Miracle Morning book. Some of you may know it, have heard about it, or heard me talk about my Miracle Mornings. And I connect with him all the time, right? Recently, last year, I learned that he had cancer, some rare form of cancer, which broke my heart. But I constantly stay in communication with him. So it's been about 4 months, but I just felt the instinct to reach out to him on Twitter. I don't know this guy, but I often reach out. And he's so good with responding. And so he replied to me this morning, and I thought, oh, that's sweet. And he said he was doing well. That's just me connecting and engaging with him. But I retweet, I comment on social media. So that's number 3. Don't just connect, but engage with their posts. And so number 4, create content. This is something you can do. This is what I like to do, but create content with their companies, right? Or maybe it's their films, maybe it's a person, if it's a brand. Create content and maybe at their companies, or hashtag their companies, or talk about something amazing that they're doing in your content, right? Make a mention. I just mentioned the Miracle Morning. And if I was writing something, or even if I post this, Miracle Morning is going to be in there. So if I hashtag it, he may click on there and say, well, what is she talking about? Why does she hashtag my brand? right? So you can create content with their companies or their films or whatever they're doing that's amazing. And if you do that, then now you're getting ahead of the game, right? I'm getting ahead of next year or whenever I'm going to reach out to them, even if it's 6 months away from there. So you want to create content with their companies. Number 5, how can you make contact? So be creative here. There's many different ways of making contact with them. Like I said, I just connect with them on social media, right? LinkedIn is my number one way. You can use InMail in LinkedIn. I don't know if you pay for their premium service, but you want to be able to use. I pay for the premium service, and I use InMail. You can simply write a message on Twitter. Like I wrote the message on Twitter for Hal Elrod. You can direct message them. You can create an email, and that's typically the first thing we always think of. How can I reach out to them on email? And certainly you can do your research and you can create, be really, creative in finding their emails, and then you reach out to them via email. Another way to connect with them is getting in the same room. You can learn a lot think about how much stuff I post about where I'm going to be, what I'm doing, where I'm speaking. So somebody can find it really easy to find me. Like if they, not that I'm the person to be, but like it's really easy to find people because now with social media, we post everything that we're doing. We're posting where we're going. So get in the same rooms as people, right? So those are just some of the creative ways to get in contact with the person or that you want to, reach out to. And those are some of the ways to be creative in doing that. So number 6, you want to stay in touch. So let's just say I just reached out to Hal Elrod. I have a list. I have an Excel sheet where I have these people's names down, and and then I'll put in my notes or a date. When is the last time I've contacted with them? What came out of that? Then sometimes I put in my my calendar a follow-up message. So I know that I just reached out to a CEO in particular, right? And then after I reached out to him, I put in my my calendar from 3 months from now, follow up, right? Now, let me talk about following up. For me, I don't just simply follow up. I don't just simply come up with a new blind email. I'm constantly building on the narrative, right? You want to be able to constantly build on the narrative. Thanks, Alicia. But you want to be able to constantly build on the narrative of what you've been saying. So my executive coach, I probably said this, and I'm going to keep saying it because it was such good information. I have an executive coach. His name is Steve, and he runs the Jordan River Group, and he says to me, Squeaky, build on the narrative. Like, if you were to create a conversation and every point it stops, how can you take that conversation further and be prepared to have 5 different conversations with these people, even if they haven't, it's not, even if it's just a monologue, be prepared to have 5 or 6 different conversations with these people. So when you're staying in touch, put in your calendar when is the last time you've reached out to them and when you want to follow back up. And for me, 2 or 3 months is a good time, contingent upon what I know I need to do next year. Right? So I want to constantly follow up. And I'm following up strategically. It's not just to say, oh, you didn't reach out to me, blah, 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 blah. I'm digging. I'm finding research. I'm putting that research in my emails or however I communicated with them so that I'm steadily building on with new stuff. Okay? Is this resonating? Please let me know if this is resonating with you, any of these things. Because I want to be helpful and I want to give you something that you can really use. All of this is pitching, right? We're pitching ourselves. We're gearing ourselves up to pitch. We are engaging and we're becoming visible. This all has to do with pitching. It's all in line with pitching. So number 7, after you've done that and you've built upon the narrative, now it's time for you to ask for a call. right? You can ask for a brief call. So I always mention brief calls. Sometimes I may even mention today I said, hey, do you got 10 minutes? Like, I'm very specific. And when I know that I ask for those 10 minutes, a lot of times they like, just give her 10 minutes. Like, I have literally like, really, that's all y'all gonna give me is 10, even though I know that's what I asked for. I'm thinking they'll give me 30, but they're busy. I respect that. And so I prepare accordingly. I write out my agenda. I talk about what I need to talk about, but I make sure it's gonna be within that 10 minutes of time that they give me. So then it's time for you to ask for a call. When you're asking for this call, it ain't to pitch them. It ain't to try to get something from them, right? Really, it is to get something from them, but it's really just to listen. You're listening in at this point. And what I'm calling about is I'm asking them questions like, hey, so I'm just calling you to find out, I have a lot going on, but before I get into that, I just kind of want to know more about what you have going on, what your need is, I know I need sponsorship, what makes a great sponsorship package for you, where do you find most value, if I had to build out a sponsorship package, what's the biggest need for you? So I'm listening to where they are, where they're headed, where they're going, what they're doing. I'm just listening. And I'll put a few questions in the bottom of this of some of the things that you can ask them so that you can be ready to listen and to take notes. But this call is just really to listen. Number 8, let them know you have some opportunities that you'd love to share in the near future, right? I do say that. Hey, I got some opportunities, that I'd love to share in the near future, but right now I just kind of want to know if, what you're doing and what's going on, and I just really wanted to take a time out to listen to that. And so, number 9, now, when it's time, you've scheduled it, you reach back out to them, you strategically ask for a meeting. Hey, remember when I said, like, I had some stuff, well, I want to offer you, or you can either say, I want to share some ideas with you, or I want to offer you an opportunity. Do you have another 15 minutes? Can we meet? And if it's another call, fine. If it's in person, fine. If it's via Skype, fine, right? So you ask for the meeting at that moment. And you still make sure you say it can be brief, but that you want to share your ideas that you feel that are in line with their mandate or in line with what they're doing. Or you just kind of want to let them know what you're up to. And then number 10, you want to follow up. Even in that second meeting, it's not to leave anything. You don't want to leave anything behind. Even after you've pitched, you don't want to leave things behind. You want to be able to take it and then follow up in email, right? To continue building on the narrative. You want to follow up. You want to follow up with proposals, with pitch Bibles, with one sheets, whatever. You want to be able to follow up with what you talked about, and that way you can control the conversation. So those are the 10 steps of what I usually typically go through when I'm building out these relationships. Right now, I'm still you all may know that I've had many network executives and producers and things like that on some of the panels that I have had. And for me, it's building on those relationships. Even when they're not responsive, I still continuously build on that relationship, letting them know, inviting them to lives, and see, because now they know she's constantly, consistently working. She's constantly doing what she says she's going to do. So I don't need them to respond. I just need them to be in the know of what I got going on. So when that time comes, it's not oh, what have you been doing? You know what I've been doing. You know what I'm saying? So, constantly build on the narrative. That's the key. Constantly build on the narrative and build the relationship, and constantly continue to engage them. So that's it for relationships.